make shots. If they can make shots, they can set their defense and give themselves a chance on the road.
Boston College has struggled to knock down shots. It's been a consistent theme for this team, but Jeff Walz telling us he knows not to take this team or their record so far lightly. Boston College is 1-5 in conference play and off to a quick start. Starting five for the Cardinals. Jeff Walz back to that regular starting five with Dana Evans, Elizabeth Balagoon, Haley Van Lith, and Olivia Cochran, the two freshmen, along with the transfer Kiana Smith.
Watch the way Louisville will share the basketball. They'll move to one side or the other of the ball. They'll get an open, uncontested shot. That's the way they play. Balagoon knocks down that corner triple.
Boston College's starting five as Dickens tries to go to the basket and lost it. Cameron Swartz, Soule, Gerard, Ford, and Dickens.
BC is capable, Jen. They need some confidence. They're 1-5. ACC record a little deceiving. They were picked in the top half of the ACC in the preseason poll.
Passing in the paint is good for the Cardinals, and Cochran finishes it off.
Olivia Cochran, one of those really good freshmen in the number 5 rated recruiting class for Louisville, is a handful inside. BC will have a challenge trying to contend her.
Van Lith to Cochran, one move up and in, back-to-back buckets.
Yeah, if Louisville decides they want to establish her on the baseline, which I know they will, they'll be able to get the ball inside fairly easily, whether it's off penetration or it's on skip passes and seals.
Ford, big offensive rebound, trying to keep this possession alive for Boston College, but backcourt violation. Jeff Walz in his 14th season as head coach of the Cardinals, and what a job he has done. Cardinals defending ACC regular season champions, and they've won at least a share of the last 3 ACC regular season titles to go along with their 2018 ACC tournament title.
Mild to moderate success, Jen, before Jeff got to Louisville, and since he's been there in the 14 years, 3 Elite Eights, 2 championship games. They're knocking on the door again this year with this team. This team checks all the boxes for a Final Four contender.
And the freshmen and newcomers, Debbie, a big part of that. Van Lith and Cochran and Kiana Smith all making their way into the starting lineup.
Watch the way Louisville goes with an ISO. Haley Van Lith is left-handed. They clear it out. She catches it on the elbow, and she is a tough 2. Tough to defend, tough scoring 2s.
Dickens picking up the foul for Boston College. Louisville is perfect from the floor so far tonight.
BC needs to find Taylor Soule, number 13 in maroon. She's on the right wing.
Hasn't touched it yet. Now Soule does get it. Will take the shot.
And this is one of the dangerous things about Louisville. When they defensive rebound, they don't need to make the outlet unless Cochran gets it. And then they quickly get into their offense. And see, here's the thing. This is where Dana Evans is so good. You challenge deep on the baseline. It flattens out the defense, Jen. It brings everybody to the ball, and it opens up the top of the floor. Very well executed in their secondary break.
Cardinals perfect, 5 of 5 from the floor on a 9-0 run now. Cameron Swartz has been playing well for Boston College, averaging 12.5 points per game. Evans, first miss for Louisville on the night.
Well, Dana Evans made 93s last year in her ACC Player of the Year campaign. This year she's only made 22, but it's not because she's not capable. You know, there's a nice piece of execution by Boston College to get a wide open shot for Clara Ford inside.
It's been a little bit of a different year for everyone, of course, just dealing with all of the challenges that playing and living through a global pandemic presents. Joanna Burnaby-McNamee knows all about that with her team as well, the reigning ACC Coach of the Year. And you talked about those high expectations, Debbie, for Boston College coming into this season, because they're coming off a year where they had 20 wins overall, 11 wins in conference play, which was a program record. And they won 6 games in conference play on the road.
Well, I, as an AP poll voter, gave them a vote in the preseason, and I had them in my poll until they lost. They won their first 4 games. But then when I saw their ACC schedule and what they had to play in conference, nobody has to play the kind of schedule that Boston College was put in front of them. You having to play NC State and Louisville twice, having to play Syracuse twice. Nobody has to do that. That is really hard for a team that's trying to build a program, and it was on the cusp of going to the NCAA last year if we had had the tournament.
Yeah, certainly a tough hand that was dealt in terms of the schedule. As Liz Dixon comes in off the bench, it gets a couple points for the Cardinals. BC on the middle of a 3-game road trip. They'll play at Notre Dame on Sunday. And you talked about that stretch. Let's also add Syracuse in the mix. Boston College has already played Syracuse, which along with NC State and Louisville is the league's only other ranked team at the moment. So they had a stretch of 3 straight games against ranked opponents at one point already. And in one of those 2 NC State games, the Eagles had them. They had the Wolfpack on the ropes, had a double-digit lead in the 4th quarter, and just could not hang on to win as the Wolfpack mounted a furious comeback and came back to win that one. Right now, though, Boston College with some work to do, trailing the nation's number 2 team on the road. A good start for the Louisville Cardinals at the KFC Yum Center on their home floor and facing off against a Boston College team who they have dominated for the most part, 8-1.
Take a look at the series history here in their 10th meeting. Coming off the timeout, that's Dickens from 3. Good execution by Boston College. Haley Van Lith up the right side in the corner. Balgoon's already hit one from there. That's her 2nd triple for Louisville. They have doubled them up 18-9. Louisville staying in their man-to-man defense. That's Cameron Schwartz with the basketball. Allie Van Timmeren for 3, the lefty, the 18-year-old, the youngest player in college basketball for Boston College. Haley Van Lith, the freshman, crosses over, gets to the paint. Dana Evans, bottom, back-to-back triples. Timeout, Boston College. Back.
Well, Debbie, I'm back now, by the way. Sorry. Thanks for handling things for a couple of 3-pointers there. You wanted offense. We promised some offense, did we not, with this Louisville team? And I think you don't talk about Louisville without hearing Final Four potential with this team, right? And are we seeing a little bit here early of just the balance and the strength of what this team can do?
Oh, I think we see it every time they step on the floor. I mean, this is a group that's had chemistry since June, and they have understood what was in front of them, and they have held each other accountable to a very high standard. I like this team. I think they check all the boxes. I also think NC State's a Final Four team out of the ACC.
Those 2 teams were supposed to meet on Sunday, Debbie. I mentioned COVID wreaking havoc on Louisville's schedule. I mean, Jeff Walz has had 8 games postponed. That includes Sunday's marquee matchup that would have been against NC State, a 2-3 matchup on ESPN But NC State's still in COVID protocol, so we hope we'll see that one get rescheduled at some point. Florida State will be coming in here, and the Seminoles are an interesting team, too, to keep an eye on. They've only played 5 games so far.
I'm keeping my eye on Florida State. As you take a look at 12 games that were scheduled, and the right side are the games, Jen, that actually were played. To go back to your point about Florida State, when I talked to Brooke Wyckoff this afternoon about her 4-1 Seminoles, they've had 17 days between the time we're in protocol to when they'll get to play, and today was the first day that they had full team practice, and they've got to play Louisville on Sunday. So short prep for the #2 team in the country. But I'll tell you what, Florida State is balanced. They're good. Courtney Weber is off to a great start for Brooke Wyckoff, who's playing or acting head coach in the interim for Sue Semmerau, who is helping take care of her mother on personal leave this season.
Shot up and good by Smith.
5 triples in the first quarter already for the Cardinals. And everyone that has played has scored. Jeff Wells is too deep and can score from all 5 positions. It's really hard to guard.
Van Timmeren has shown she can knock down the 3 at times. The true freshman who just graduated high school in December and joined Boston College early, just after Christmas.
Dana Evans at the point of attack defensively does a good job of stopping the basketball and making Girard run offense, not letting them score in transition.
Taylor Sewell fouled on that play, trying to get herself going in this one. No points yet for Sewell. The leading scorer averages 16 a game. That's 9th in the ACC.
Well, she's so athletic. As you take a look at her numbers, 4 times this year she's been over the 20-point mark. She had 21 in that come-from-behind win against Notre Dame at home last week. That was a huge win for them. And she's first in the ACC in free throw makes. I mean, nobody takes more free throws than she does.
Boston College is a team very good when they do get to the line. In fact, they rank 2nd in the league, shooting over 80% from the line as a team. Their challenge, of course, making sure they get to the line enough. A big difference, as you see there, in their 5 wins versus their 5 losses. Number of times that they get to the line, average over 20 trips in their wins and just over 12 in their losses.
Live ball turnover.
Smith gets her own rebound into Dixon inside for 2 more.
Jeff Walls is getting a combined 20 points and 12 rebounds out of the 5 spot between Elizabeth Dixon and Olivia Cochran. Both with size, both love the physical part of the game, posting up. Both are really good at sealing and shaping up to the ball.
Was that a question for you coming into this season, Debbie, what you might see from the post play of Louisville?
I didn't have any questions about Louisville, Jen, honestly. I knew they were going to be good. I'm not surprised. I expected Haley Van Lith to have the impact that she's had. And Olivia Cochran's been a little bit of a surprise for me. Elizabeth Dixon has improved, but no, I expected them to be a Final Four caliber team, and they have delivered on that so far.
Louisville picked first for the second straight year in the ACC. They were also number 5 in the AP preseason, which matched their highest preseason ranking ever. So a lot of high expectations out there for this Louisville team. They have not disappointed yet. This will stay with Boston College. Just over 22 seconds on the clock. Shot clock at 20.
Sometimes when I'm watching Allie Van Timmeren, the 6'2 freshman, just turned 18, who reclassified to be able to be eligible this year and play. I mean, she was in high school just a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing to think that she's had to battle some of the tough physicality of the front line players in the ACC. Like Elisa Cunane at NC State was the first player she had to go against. And she did all right. She had 10 and 6 in that game. Here she is with the ball in her hands.
This is Bats at the buzzer. The shot clock buzzer, and then not another opportunity to be had for Boston College. They trail Louisville by 10 after 1.
Jump shots outside the three-point line by moving the basketball, spacing the floor, and sharing it. It is beautiful. It's exactly what we told you, Jen. Just put your feet up, sit back, and watch Louisville execute.
It's 26 points, the second most Louisville has scored in a first quarter this season. But if we know anything about Boston College, and this is what Jeff Walz said to us earlier today, Joanna Burnaby-McNamee's teams do not quit. Now they've got a long road to go, a lot of game left to play, down just 10. But let's see what kind of fight this Boston College team has in it. Here's Soule.
Really good post up, deep position on, looks like Cochran. Oh, excuse me, that's Dixon.
Nice handoff there from Van Lith. And sets up Marissa Russell, 5'11" freshman out of Ottawa, Canada.
It's part of the reason why Boston College's record's a little misleading, because they have played such a tough schedule. They have maintained their confidence, which is a credit to Coach McNamee, to be able to keep them playing and trying to execute and staying in games.
Whew, how smooth and fast is Dana Evans when she gets out on the break.
She has another gear in the open floor. This would be Louisville's largest lead. And this is something you say a lot in a basketball game when you have Boston College. Taylor Souls going to the free throw line. Look at the separation speed.
Evans, the reigning ACC Player of the Year, first player in league history to go from 6th Player of the Year, which she was 2 years ago, to ACC Player of the Year. And you'd think with her leading the league in scoring right now, that honor is probably hers to lose at this point.
Look at Cochran at the rim, affecting shots inside.
Evans lost it, but it'll stay with Louisville, tapped out by Boston College there. Jeff Walz telling us that Dana Evans always wants a challenge, wants him to challenge her, continue to grow and get better.
And her growth on the offensive end, you can see it each year and you can measure it. This year it's the intangibles. It's her not worried about, trying to do everything herself. It's more sharing the basketball, getting others involved, embracing the skill set of Haley Van Lith and playing alongside that high school All-American. It's what I like to say about players when they mature and they get to their senior year. Dana's not trying to prove anything. What more does she need to prove? She just needs to keep getting better.
Cochran now with 6. And the lead 16 for the Cards.
Louisville does a good job with their ball pressure, high hands on the catch.
More women's basketball coming your way on Sunday here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. You want to follow this Boston College team? Well, they're going to head to Notre Dame. That'll be at noon Eastern on Sunday. Then at 4 o'clock, Wake Forest taking on Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Virginia Tech getting a win on the road at North Carolina earlier tonight.
Tough loss for Wake Forest on the road at Notre Dame. That was one that I thought they needed to win just to keep themselves in the top half of the ACC and to keep them progressing and moving forward, Jen, trending in the right direction for a potential NCAA tournament bid, one they haven't had since, I believe, 1988 or 89.
Yeah, back when their head coach Jen Hoover was wearing the uniform and playing for the Demon Deacons. Girard, one of the best in the ACC, had taken the ball away. Couldn't get the extra points on this end. Boston College still working for it. Van Timmeren will get it done. Looks like that was Kayla Ivey. Tried to reach in there and whistled for the foul against Mikasa Robinson.
One of my personal favorite players in the ACC, because you do not need to run offense to Mikasa Robinson for her to have an impact on the game. She guards, she can pass, she sets good screens, and Jeff Walz can use her up in the top of the floor to spell Dana Evans some minutes.
I'm proud of you, Debbie. I'm proud of you right there, liking that player whose offense isn't speaking for her. That's not what she's known for.
Well, but I know what she does with the detail on the offensive end, and that's why some of Louisville's details are so good when she's on the floor. Screening, running the floor hard, defending.
Girard steps back. Louisville trying to run, but got to put the ball down first. Travel called there on Russell.
And see, if you do your scout on Mikasa Robinson, who's only scored 10 total points in 10 games, you know she's going to pass in that situation, unless she has a wide open layup in front of her. That's part of knowing your skill set, and that's part of the, what teams mature into with their roles. And Mikasa Robinson is very confident in her role.
She averages 16 minutes per game for this Louisville team this season. Junior out of Ashland, Kentucky. A lot of pressure there as Taylor Soule was trying to get to the basketball. Balgun picking up the foul. Van Timmeren spinning, runs into a wall of Cardinals. Dickens, boy, she lit up Louisville in the team's first meeting last year. Dickens knocked down 6 threes. That was only bettered by 7 threes on the other end. But Debbie, this is something you and I were talking about. Explain the pressure package and what that means for Boston College tonight.
Well, Joanna McNamee Burnaby is a terrific teacher. So she knows conceptually what she has to have in her offensive system before she plays any team like Louisville. Because you know Louisville's an up the line. They're a very good defensive team. They overplay. So you have to have these concepts already in your system. You can't show up to play Louisville and try to get your team all week to start ball faking or cutting back door. You got to understand those principles before you get to this game. And you should. And most coaches are working on these inside their system in October.
8 on the shot clock. 8 points in the game now for Smith. Transfer from Cal. Spent 2 years there. Was a member of the Pac-12 all-freshman team her first year. Sat out last season after transferring. Van Timmeren off the glass and in.
Good job of attacking pressure, attacking the switches. Good hustle by Smith to save that basketball.
Louisville dominant in the paint so far tonight. That's helped them to a 14-point lead over Boston College. in the draft last night. And she's going to Racing Louisville, the brand new NWSL franchise that will start play in Louisville in 2021. Pretty exciting stuff, and so amazing to see Amina Ekic get to continue her career right where she's played her entire life so far.
Jen, you do an excellent job calling soccer.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But there's not enough scoring in that sport for me.
Well, you'd like Ekic then. She led the league in scoring, see? Yeah, no, it's a very different pace, that's for sure.
I did the soccer mom thing for many, many years.
Oh, you must have been just screaming at him to get down the field and get to the goal. Schwartz will pull up for the three and hit it. First triple of the night for Schwartz, and Boston College is a team that has the potential to knock down threes. They just have not been able to consistently do so far this season.
What Jeff is doing is going with a lineup for the last several minutes without Dana Evans on the floor. And you can see the pace, the cadence, the aggressiveness. It all changes just a little bit. Just enough for BC to get a bucket on one end and get a stop on the other. Well, it looks like she's coming back in.
And that's the end of that. Dana Evans does return. Five points in the game for the preseason ACC Player of the Year, Dana Evans. Bats was allowed to make her way into the paint, made the Cardinals pay for it.
Absolutely, a terrific elbow jump shot. And Van Timmeren was posting up so hard inside. She was drawing attention. Left some space for Bats.
Van Timmeren's played a big first half so far for Boston College.
Very tough inside. See, look, you see Van Timmeren was, and they'll inbound the basketball at the division line. Okay, watch now. Balagoon handles the ball, and then, I mean, they're shoving by both. That's not fair. I don't like that.
Yeah, and it now has Dickens with 3 personal fouls. So that'll certainly be something that Boston College has to contend with. Gerard doing her thing, poked it away from Van Lith. And I believe Jeff Walls called a timeout.
That's the third deflection Gerard has gotten on the ball handler. That's how quick her hands are and how much she anticipates.
Play after they picked up a win on Wednesday against Wake Forest. So both Cardinal men and the women playing some good basketball these days. And now we'll see if this game can start to get its groove back a little bit after the intentional foul and then a timeout, now a held ball.
See, Haley Van Lith is trying to feed the ball inside, but that is a long pass to make, and Van Timmeren was off the contact. Now, if Cochran had a seal and had Van Timmeren on her back, then you can make that pass because you can see her numbers. If you can't see Cochran's numbers, that's a tough pass to make from that distance.
Van Timmeren caught it, but a little too deep. Tried to get it back out to Bats, taken away by Smith. Cochran to the basket and was fouled.
After such a hot offensive start for Louisville, they have really slowed down. And this is where they're in a point in the game where they're just letting Boston College hang around, and they need to figure out a way to separate. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Jeff Walsh doesn't come with some defensive pressure here to change the rhythm a little bit, do something to jumpstart his team. Because you let BC hang around, Jen, they just grow confidence.
Louisville, no field goals over the last 3 minutes. Shot up and good from Van Timmeren, who is having herself a game, a dozen now for Van Timmeren to lead Boston College. And then Van Timmeren trying to get in the passing lane, tap it away from Cochran, but called for the foul. That is her second personal.
That kid is balling. 12 points, 5 for 7 from the floor. She does have a couple of fouls, but she has had to handle both Dixon and Cochran on the block.
Yeah, she has been called into action due to just a shortened bench at the moment for Boston College. Clara Ford was limited. She's back in the starting lineup now, but she had missed some time. And Akuna Konkwo, the redshirt freshman center, stands 6'2", has been out and is not yet back for Boston College. So that means, Allie Van Timmeren, you come to college December 26th. You join your team. And not only are you a part of the team, but you are playing some major minutes.
Well, you go to college to get an education, and she's getting one.
More ways than one. Schwartz with the shot clock winding down. Oh, Batts nearly had it, but Van Lith, who's an excellent rebounder for her size, takes it away. She averages 6.6 a game. Going to the basket. Two Cardinals fighting for it to go back to BC.
Yeah, Louisville looks flat. They've lost their mojo. They just don't look like they are playing at a very high level and executing like they started the game.
Batts.
Really good D. Here we go. Now you get up the floor and you start running. And you sprint. And see, Jeff Walls has a package for Haley Van Lith on the top of the floor running the offense, and he has a package with Dana Evans.
It'll be Balgoon to take it, make it, and get a chance for one more.
Watch Cameron Schwartz try to get outside the restricted area. I think her heel was over the line. That plane of the line counts. If your heel is hovering over the line, that means that you're in the restricted area.
9 points now for Balagoon. No Taylor Soule on the floor. She does have 2 personal fouls, so at the moment BC having to go without their leader.
Oh, what a pass. You got to finish that. If you're going to knock off the number 2 team, they've missed a couple of layups tonight. Let's see if
double
BC
digits is Van Timmeren.
Let's see if they stay in this manner. They switch to zone at the end of the shot clock here.
Dana Evans, ball in her hands, takes the shot, misses everything. Well, not the finish Louisville was looking for, but still a pretty big lead over Boston College, 40.
Edge with 7 offensive rebounds as well. So I think BC needs to get the ball to Taylor Soule, get her isolated on the elbow, make Louisville have to guard that action one-on-one.
No points in that first half for Taylor Soule, the player that you said if BC was going to have a chance, they needed not just a game, but a big game from her. She knows that. She is playing with 2 fouls, so that limited her a little bit there at the end of the first half.
BC showing zone, and looks like they're trying to trap out of that zone. I like the way Joanna Burnaby-McNamee is thinking about changing up the rhythm. They're usually a pretty good third quarter team.
But what just happened right there on the first play of the third quarter, and you see Coach McNamee calling to her bench, and look who's going to have to go join her. That was the 3rd foul for Taylor Soule.
I mean,
she knows.
Coach McNamee said that the other day her team got together. They had an internal team meeting, and the guards initiated it. And one of the words that came out of it, as you see Kiana Smith knock down a triple, is accountability. And Taylor Soule was the first one to speak and said, I'm going to be accountable for keeping myself out of foul trouble. She knows she's valuable and has to be on the floor. I don't know if she can keep her over there that long, though, Jen. You know, if Louisville hits a couple more buckets here in a row and goes on a little bit of a run, you might need her back on the floor.
The Cardinals have already opened up their largest lead of the game. Gerard moving down the floor quickly, gets it over to Dickens, who knocks down a three.
Well, Dickens, with those 3 first-half fouls, only played 9 minutes in the first half, so she ought to have fresh legs here in the second.
And Dickens, in the 2 games against the Cardinals last season for Boston College, shot over 50% from 3. She can knock them down. She's definitely on the scouting report, but has now hit a couple from beyond the arc in this game so far. That's running the floor for Boston College, gets the 2 on the run.
BC just hanging around. You can go 12 points, you can go 4 threes, and you're right back in it if you can get 3 stops in a row.
But don't leave Haley Van Lith open. Look, she's struggled a little bit from 3 over the last couple of games, but that kid plays with a ton of confidence. Knocked that one down wide open. Gerard, good look to Ford.
Well, Louisville gambles, and Dana Evans trying to get a steal on the top of the floor and forces a rotation wide open down to the rim. And there's Gerard again. Quick hands, another tip. I think that's unofficially, I've got her for 4 times that she has deflected or disrupted or stolen the ball out of the ball handler's hand for Louisville.
Yeah, she's so good on the defensive side. She's led this Boston College team in steals the last 2 years. She leads them again this year, and in fact, she is right near the top of the ACC. Her 27 steals coming into this game, the most in the league.
You got to tighten up that handle when Gerard is around, and as Haley Van Lith reached in, I think she hurt her hand, and she's going to be carried off, or taken off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Van
taken
Lith
off with the trainer for Louisville.
That's some concern there for the ACC Freshman of the Week. Nice backdoor
Yoshi
cut from Swartz.
There's the trainer, and there's that backdoor feed.
I believe that was some of the pressure package, was it not, Debbie, that you drew up?
Yes, it was.
Well, as you said, Boston College just creeping back in. They've hung right around this 12, 11 point mark for a while. Pelagoon out to Evans, 3 on the shot clock, has to take it. Cochran the rebound and the putback.
Look at that move inside to be able to create some separation. She catches it under the rim and pivots away from the goal to score. That's excellent footwork.
Gerard picked up the dribble, found Dickens, so quick.
Really good cut. Really nice backdoor feed again. Nice look by BC.
Good start to this quarter so far, and you said it at the break, Debbie. You said Boston College, they tend to play a good third quarter. They're 5 of 5 so far. Make it 6 of 6 as Dickens drains another.
Oh yeah, exactly. They are a third quarter adjustment team. Joanna Burnaby McNamee gets them back in the locker room and just tweaks a few things to get their focus back.
Evans trying to silence this little uprising from the visitors.
You know, Joanna was telling us that, you know, her team she's trying to be calmer and you know, to be a little softer because of COVID and just be a little bit more understanding. And then she's like, her team knows that's not her. So she's got to stay after them and give them the what for once in a while.
Evans back-to-back buckets for the Cardinals as the preseason player of the year, trying to get this thing back under control for Louisville. Jay Billis, LaFonso Ellis, and Seth Greenberg will preview the ACC slate of weekend games at the latest news from around the conference. That's only on ACC Network and the ESPN app. A few moments ago, Haley Van Lith going off and the ACC Freshman of the Week being tended to. She had the ball taken away by Gerard and came up holding her hand after that. So we'll see if we can get an update on what's going on with her as Boston College works it.
Backdoor, great call set up by Coach McNamee off the timeout. An overplaying team has to have the pressure package in. It's a great time to go backdoor, and they set it up perfectly. High V cut by Schwartz, and an excellent bounce pass to the rim.
Cameron Schwartz on the line. 9 points in the game for the junior, transfer from Colorado. In her second year, though, with the Eagles. Cochran. Now Robinson had it and then had it ripped away by Schwartz. Taylor Soule back on the floor, is playing with 3 fouls, the leading scorer on the season for Boston College. Just 2 points in the first half for Soule. Dana Evans taking it away for an easy 2 on the other end.
There's not many things that Van Timmeren does like a freshman, but that right there that was a soft pass with Dana Evans shooting the gap. You got to put some zip on it or ball fake it.
Schwartz, tough drive. Kiana Smith. Balagoon, leading scorer in the first half for the Cardinals. Cochran, offensive rebound pays off.
Really good job of Balagoon attacking the closeout, the floater. Cochran weak side rebounding.
Van Timmeren. Soule, the offensive rebound. A little short.
Taylor Soule still without a bucket in the game.
Smith. And the tie-up. Well, Louisville's still up 14, but BC making their way back in.
BC hits their first 6 baskets. This was the 6th to start the second half. Dickens for triple.
We saw her come up, and you can see right there holding that right hand. She did have some treatment, now has that hand taped and looking rather forlorn over on the sideline, Debbie.
Yeah, the one thing about it is she's a lefty, so that right hand is just only involved as a guide in her shot, but she looks like she's a little bit bothered for sure. That hurts to have. If it was a finger dislocation or whatever happens, she's got them wrapped up together. We hate to speculate on what it was, but that does hurt.
Yeah, and certainly some frustration, as you can tell what a competitor she is. And speaking of competitors, Taylor Soule just now scored her first field goal of this game, trying to help her team fight back on the road.
Well, again, another piece of excellent execution off the timeout by Coach McNamee, last year's ACC Coach of the Year. Taylor Soule on an isolation.
you said it earlier, Taylor Sewell has gotten to the line more than anyone in the ACC so far this season. She's now gone 54 makes on the season.
Well, here comes some situational pressing off the made free throws.
Narika Kono didn't want it, but turned it over. Sewell was ready for it. When Sewell takes it in and makes it, you can see up there a reminder, big game coming up on Sunday. Should have been NC State and Louisville, but credit to the ACC for figuring things out, getting the game, bringing Florida State back into action. The Seminoles will come to town to take on the Cards. 3 o'clock Eastern on ESPN 2.
Dana Evans, untrappable, unflappable. I've only said that about a few players in the history of the ACC, but she's definitely one of them.
I like it. Untrappable and unflappable both. And Dana Evans also such a leader for this Louisville team. Certainly the voice that you expect to hear, player of her caliber.
You know, you can't press Louisville for a whole game. We saw DePaul do that, and they scored 116 points on them. And when you press Louisville, you open up the floor. And if you're going to press, you can't let Dana Evans get the ball in her hands. Because the first time BC pressed, they got the turnover because Dana passed it. The second time, they get the bucket because Dana didn't pass it.
Look who's not content to sit on the bench. That guide hand working just fine for Van Lith. Sewell look to take it herself. Got to lay into the basket. Van Lith. She was fired up after that injury, but couldn't make it back-to-back buckets. Gerard. Boston College trying to make that lead single digits for the Cardinals. So close to doing so, but that one around and out for Swartz. Evans all the way. She called it and one.
The backside of pressure. You pick up full court, and this is why it's dangerous to press Louisville, because they have so many weapons. They can score in space, and when you press, you open up the floor. And if you have an unbalanced floor and the floor is tilted in Dana Evans' favor heading downhill, forget about it. You are not going to be able to get a body in front of her.
Dana Evans at times, Debbie, can simply take over a game. At this point, she has scored 14 of Louisville's last 18 points.
And that's why she's the leader for Player of the Year in the ACC.
Think about the end of the Virginia Tech game last Thursday, which was a close game. The Hokies really fought back well in that one, and Evans just absolutely took this team on her shoulders at the end. She set up her teammates. She scored 2 big buckets. She had a steal, and Louisville escaped out of that one with a win. Ben Timorin out to Swartz for 3. It's good.
Cameron Schwartz was calling for that ball to come back out. Good management of the clock in that late last possession. 12-point lead for Louisville. Fourth quarter, heading up. Comes the pull-up jump shot after she beats pressure. Untrappable, unflappable for Louisville.
19 points in the game, 12 of those coming in the third quarter, and she really took care of what was a very good quarter for Boston College, where the Eagles, Debbie, scored as many points in that third quarter, 28, as they did in the first half.
They just haven't been able to put a 40-minute game together, but you saw in the third quarter pieces where they were able to go backdoor, where they got Taylor Soule on an isolation, where Dickens was able to make a three. They made their first 6 baskets out of the locker room.
Van Timmeren getting a bit of a rest on the bench. The freshman's been fantastic, 15 points, which is a season high for her, but remember, this is only her 4th game. She's not had that much of a season yet, but certainly things looking up for what she's going to be able to contribute. Soule. And defended well by Robinson.
Well, she didn't let her turn the corner and go straight line drive down the lane line.
Smith got to the other side.
You know, one of the things Jeff Walls said last year all the time was that Kiana Smith at most days was the best player in practice last year in her redshirt year. And we could see why he felt so strongly about her. She's had a fantastic season so far.
She's been a really nice addition to this team, hasn't she?
She doesn't turn it over. She makes good decisions. She can score in all 3 levels. She has a little change of pace right here. She keeps her dribble alive even though she drew help. She knows she can get to the other side of the rim and score. It's just a great read of the second level. The first level is the player that's guarding you. The second level would be the screener's defense. And then the third level would be if you got to the paint and drew help from the weak side. Not all players can do that. That's not an easy skill to have, but through repetition and an incredible offensive skill set, you can develop it, and Kiana Smith can certainly do all of those things.
And she's got the basketball background with her family, too. Her dad, John, is a head coach at Cal Poly. He played at UNLV under Jerry Tarkanian. Her brother, Jamal, played at Cal State Fullerton. Her grandfather, Fred Lucky Smith, played for the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of hooping in that family going on. Van Lith nails it.
Yeah, she's a confident shooter, and the reason why is she's put in the time. She's put in the reps. She's the player at Louisville that Jeff Walls has to kick out of the gym with Dana Evans. He's got to lock the door and kick those 2 out.
Van Lith defending there as she was trying to keep Cameron Swartz bottled up, but Van Lith was called for the foul, her second.
This is probably not the appropriate time for me to launch into why we don't have the cylinder rule in the women's game and the men do. But I'll just sprinkle it out there just a little bit, just to tease.
By the way, that was the 3rd personal on Van Lith, and this time it is an offensive foul against Boston College, and Dickens, that's her 4th. So one of the best shooters for Boston College has to go to the bench. She's knocked down 3 triples in the game so far. Dixon. Timeout called by Louisville as Dixon was in a little bit of trouble there, and we'll take a quick break as well. Cardinals up big on the home floor. Yeah, those guys in the basement can bust out some shoes like Jeff Walls on the sideline. What do you think, Debbie?
Oh, I know Pac-Man's got all kinds of style. Wes, I'm not so sure about.
Burn, Wes. Burn.
Wes, hey, I grew up with Wes. He and we're from the crib. We're from the same streets of Cary and Apex, North Carolina.
Hey, and you know, we love us some Packer and Durham, especially when they're talking some women's hoops. Let's see, Debbie, you were on there this morning. Taylor Soule from Boston College was on there yesterday. Oh my gosh, he has his face on his shoes. And Monica McNutt, who will be coming up in ladies' night after our game, she'll be on there tomorrow morning. I mean, come on, your face on your shoes, that's special.
I don't know if Packer has his face on any of his shoes yet, but I'm sure he would effort to get it done.
Cochran with the shot clock winding down. Hey, Debbie, my favorite shoes of yours, though, are those sweet pink. Which ones are they? They're like a special K-Gal breast cancer shoe, right?
Oh,
Which ones are those?
Listen, I've got KD's, I've got LeBron's, I've got Elena Deladon's, I've got some Jordans. I got everything.
I know. I like the pink, though. I like the pink.
Yeah, they're all pink. They're all pink. So I'm not sure which one's
pink. Oh,
the KD Ant Pearls might be what you're referring to.
I'm not that cool to know the difference. I'm wearing slippers currently, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I used to be really cool in the lunchroom at school when I would go have lunch with my kids wearing, you know, my KDs or my LeBrons.
Yeah.
Also my Kobe's. I have a huge number of Kobe's. I didn't mean to leave that out.
I'm impressed. But none of them with your picture on it, I would guess.
No, I have my picture on my shoes. You know, I was wearing the Walls World t-shirt today, though. I had a t-shirt with Jeff's face on it this morning.
Indeed you were. And you got guitar lessons from Coach Mack when we talked with her. I mean, it's been a busy day. Gerard just picking up her fourth, by the way, for Boston College, as we do talk a little bit of basketball, and Evans continues her onslaught in the second half.
This would be her 8th game going over the 20-point mark. She's got 21 right now in the game.
I know we've talked a lot about this Louisville team all game long, Debbie, but in your mind, is this one of Jeff's best teams? Can you say that yet?
Yeah, I don't know if you can say that yet, because he's taken 2 teams to the national championship game in 09 and 13. So if this team would have to get there and win the whole thing. And are they capable? Yes. Void of injury, they are.
Yeah, and something happening here with Kiana Smith behind the play. On it, but that may be an early exit for her out of this game. We'll take a look back at the play.
She gets wrapped up trying to box out Taylor Soule.
Balagoon. Van Timmeren is playing her heart out for Boston College tonight. And that is the 5th team foul against the Cardinals, so that will put Boston College on the line. Mentioned it earlier that the Eagles, one of the best free throw shooting teams in the conference, they convert at a clip of over 80% from the line on the season. They're perfect 6 of 6 so far tonight. So haven't gotten there too much, but have an opportunity now to perhaps pick up some points on the line as they're shooting free throws.
At least she can laugh at it. That's a good sign. Whoa, look at Cochran bringing the ball up the floor. I love it. Hey, hey. Take that back, what I said in the first quarter. I thought she was the only one that required the outlet pass. That was wrong.
15 points, 7 boards for Cochran. Swartz. Short jumper's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Cameron Swartz has a whole other level that she can provide, and she plays with such fearlessness. I love watching her. She works hard. She's a great teammate.
Getting her chance to play this Boston College program for the 2nd year. Swartz as Evans drains another. 24 now for Dana Evans. Van Timmeren going at Cochran. An offensive foul called.
Look at Cochran move those feet. I'll tell you what Cochran does so well as you take a look at Evans right here. Nice job by Como to draw some help and then kick to the open shooter. But what I love about Elizabeth Cochran is Olivia Cochran, if you watch her first 3 steps up the floor are bang, bang, bang. Like she gets into transition and runs as a big. And you want to see the big girls run, because that opens up the space on the top of the floor for Dana Evans to work her magic. Just create space.
There have been a couple of moments in this game where it's been a little bit of a lull for Louisville. Boston College has been able to eat into the lead somewhat, get Seoul some points and get going. But when you see players like Cochran start to roll, or Van Lith, or Smith, or Balagoon, and then of course Evans, you're just reminded at how deep this Louisville team and balanced it can be. Balagoon, that one's good.
I love that set. That's a called set by Jeff Walls for Dana Evans to drive and throw that drift pass and force BC to over-rotate. And then the ball finds the open shooter. The Swells team lost to Florida State. This is what Dana Evans averaged, but the points and the assist and the turnover are one thing. She didn't shoot the ball well in either one of those games. And Morgan Jones is a lockdown defender for Florida State. She will have a chance to have some time defending Dana Evans. And it is a challenge for everybody in the ACC to try to keep that lady in front.
Well, lest you forget about Florida State, because they have been paused for quite some time. Their last game was December 31st, a win at Virginia Tech. And so now we're going to get a chance to see the Seminoles. They're 4-1 overall, have only played 5 games this season. But the last time Louisville lost a game, it was to Florida State in the ACC tournament semifinals last year.
Here's the thing, Jen. Louisville's number 2, NC State's number 3 in the country. Syracuse is number 24 in the AP poll. Outside of that, North Carolina got a couple of votes this week. But if you look at the coaches poll, Florida State is getting some votes from the coaches polls. The coaches know that Florida State is a very good team. And when you start talking about teams in the ACC and you separate the teams, like, you know, there's 6 ranked teams in the Big Ten, or there's 6 ranked teams in the Pac-12, you got to look at the balance of the ACC and the body of work with the schedules that they've been able to play based on the schedules they've been handed. Some of it is COVID related, but one of the things Jeff Walls told us today is he appreciates how much the ACC office has worked with them to try to accommodate scheduling, and he's really happy that he gets to play another game. And that's sort of the attitude that Louisville has had. We're happy to play. We want to play.
Yeah. You have to play the teams that are healthy, because you just don't know when COVID might hit. 9 of our ACC women's basketball programs have gone on pause due to COVID protocol at one point or another. Duke canceled its season back on December 25th, and then just earlier today, Virginia announcing they were going to cancel the remainder of their season. So it has been all about adjusting, rescheduling, and just getting ready for the next one, whatever it might be and whoever it might be against.
And I know, having spoken to Brooke Wyckoff today, how excited that group is to get to play. They have not played in 17 days. They're ready to compete.
Cochran. She'll go back to the free throw line.
So if you're Boston College, you're looking at that number that you spoke of before, Jen. 28 points in the first half, 28 points in the third quarter. They made 6 baskets in a row. They strung together a run. They did an excellent job of executing coming out of the locker room. They just haven't been able to sustain that 40 minutes of effort. This is a good team with a misleading record. Their schedule has been tough. They've had to play the hardest teams in the league. NC State twice. They've played Louisville here. They've had to play Syracuse. I mean, those are teams that are ranked.
Cochran knocks them both down.
But what BC has coming up could be some winnable games for them. They go on the road to Notre Dame. They play Clemson and Pitt. You know, there's some opportunity potentially there.
There you get a look at what the Eagles have coming up. We'll have that game for you on ACC Network to start things off on Sunday at Notre Dame, 12 o'clock Eastern.
Well, Notre Dame played, I thought, with great maturity and poise late. They had a few turnovers in their game against Wake, and that's a big win for them because Wake Forest is a much improved team over last year. Clemson, Amanda Butler's got some D. Now, they're going to bring the heat. They're going to be up the line. They're going to be aggressive, and they're going to put pressure on you on the offensive end with their ability to attack and rebound.
Couple of minutes remaining in this one. Louisville has never lost to Boston College since they've been members of the ACC. Only once overall, that coming back in 1985.
What? She made a shot. She took one. Mikasa, you see her teammates responding. Look, she smiles. They know they appreciate her role. They know how hard she brings it every day, how hard she works.
Nothing But Net will be coming your way every Sunday, our weekly men's basketball studio show. They'll preview the week, look back at the best games from the previous week with highlights, analysis, and insight that only we can provide. This week's show at 8 Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app on Sundays. See Coach McGraw getting in there too. Have some conversation. She'll be coming up in studio as well with Kelsey Riggs, Kelly Gramlich, and Monica McNutt as they catch you up on everything that's happened. Our ladies' night on Thursday night on ACC Network and our 3 games that we had, our triple header of ACC women's basketball. Debbie's told you about Notre Dame and their win against Wake Forest. Maddie Westbeld had a great performance in that one. Virginia Tech getting a win. And Louisville trying to close out the night.
Virginia Tech, I think, is the most dangerous team in the bottom half of the ACC bracket right now, or standings, I should say. Just because Kitley and Shepard are so good, I think everyone respects their game. And then Kayla King, I think, is a great third piece. A. Moore has learned how to handle the tempo and measure the offense for Kenny Brooks. North Carolina is a little surprising. I think they got to pick it up a little bit. I know Courtney Bangard is a great teacher, and I think one of her great qualities is her incredible ability to teach and be patient.
I think we've all had to learn a little exercise in patience at some point or another over this past year, that's for sure. That shot is up and good for JoJo Lacey in Boston College. It was going to be a tough challenge for the Eagles to come in here on the road at Louisville, try to knock off the nation's second-ranked team, unable to get the job done here tonight. They pushed it to within 9 in their best quarter, which was the third quarter. But then the Cardinals just opened things back up. So Louisville, Debbie, I don't think did anything to dampen our expectations after what we've seen tonight.
I mean, 89 points is above their average. This is a team that leads the league in scoring and in scoring D. I think Jeff Walls will have some good film to break down tomorrow. So will Coach McNamee from BC.
Louisville victorious. They improved to 11-0 overall, 4-0 in conference play. Florida State coming up for them on Sunday. And now to wrap things up, we're going to send you to the ladies in the studio. Kelsey Riggs, it's all yours.